Another great week in the CFL. Week 8 is here, and who better to get us ready for Bombers and Argonauts than the man from the show aforementionedly named Winnipeg Sports Talk, than Andrew Hustle Rama Paterson, who I do have to say, after we first talked right before the Super Bowl, went on a trip to Boston that I was quite jealous of with, I believe, the folks at Coolbet Canada.
Yeah, that was an all-timer, Griff. Thanks for having me. Yeah, Four Nations. We Coolbet had a bunch of contest winners that we brought out and went to the two semis, or I guess the last two games of the round robin, and then we're there for the epic gold medal game. So I know we're talking mostly football, but yeah, for puckheads out there, that was pretty much top of the food chain.
Exactly. I was on the couch right behind me, screwing my head off when McDavid just slotted in overtime. But you know what? We're here to talk football. I'm gonna get right to it. With Winnipeg's been such an interesting team this year to me. It's like, it's always, they're never out of it, but then the last two games has been some of the most, I think, unlike Bomber football that I've seen from them in quite some time, where because I'll be honest with you, last week after the Stampede Bowl game, I was ready to go, no, I'm going to put my money on Calgary. They're going to look good. But then Winnipeg's like, hey, we're at home. We're upset. Milt's coming back. I'm like, recipe for a perfect Bombers victory. Stampeders had other plans, though.
It didn't happen. It did happen with the welcome back of Milt Stiegel.
Yes.
That was as cool a moment as I can remember being in for almost any sporting event. Milt actually joined us. I don't know when you're popping this out, but on Wednesdays, Winnipeg Sports Talk. And, we talked a lot about what was happening in and around the Canadian Football League and the Bombers, but we started off talking about that. And that's something that no one that was in the building, or I'm sure probably watching on television, will ever forget. And listen, it was set up to be a perfect Friday night, kicking off a weekend in the summer here in Manitoba. Milt returning, and then the Bombers getting their revenge on the Calgary Stampeders. Unfortunately for the Bombers, that did not transpire as planned. And you mentioned, the Bombers at home, insane. They'd lost like 6 games in 5 years or something like that.
Yep.
The Bombers off the bye had won 13 straight games. And listen, Calgary kind of caught them off guard. They whooped their ass in the Stampede Bowl. The Bombers had the bye week. You would have thought, okay, this is going to be that get right game. And listen, credit where credit is due. At this point, how do we have anyone else other than the Calgary Stampeders at number 1 on a CFL power poll right now? They ended the Bombers' undefeated season. They went in and kicked Saskatchewan's ass in a game that, frankly, I think the final score was charitable to the Riders. And then they came in and did it again. Now, listen, 41-20, albeit the Bombers did get a garbage time touchdown that maybe made it look a little bit better. This still was a very close game in the third quarter. And, Chris Streveler made a brutal decision that ended up turning into an interception on the goal line. At that point, I can't remember whether it was 17-13 or 16-13, but even a couple incompletions and a field goal essentially makes it a tie or a 1-point game.
Yep.
Unfortunately for the Bombers, they turned that thing over, and then as was happening all night, Vernon Adams carved up the Bomber defense. You get a blown coverage on a bomb to Alford, who has just been an absolute revelation in his rookie year here in the Canadian Football League. Can't remember a first rounder, a first overall pick, any draft pick coming in and making such an impact so fast. And then it was all Calgary after that. Listen, that pick six that Strev threw was about as bad as you will see of a pick six ever. And it just sort of fell apart on them. So, yeah, listen, it wasn't pretty. Calgary now clearly, putting their flag at the top of the division. Saskatchewan's right there. Now the Bombers got to work their way back up. And, they do it going into, Toronto, where they have had a lot of trouble winning games, even when the Argos haven't been very good and the Bombers have been great. But to your point about it not looking like Bomber football, maybe the thing that was the most surprising out of all of it, Griff, was how undisciplined they were.
Yeah.
If you look at Winnipeg over the course of these last 5-6 years under Mike O'Shea, the one thing that you can take to the bank is that they're well coached, they're well prepared, and they're not going to beat themselves. And they more than helped the Calgary Stampeders. with some bad penalties at bad times. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it didn't look very much like the Blue Bombers. And we heard from Mike O'Shea earlier today saying that it wasn't one area of the game that he thought they needed to be better. He thought they weren't good enough in so many, but it was just the general standard of the Bombers that wasn't there. So, I mean, from a Winnipeg perspective, hopefully this is a real wake-up call. They had a nice start. I mean, it's not like last year where they were 0-4 and 2-6 and still ended up winning the West. But it ain't getting any easier moving forward. I think Toronto is, despite their record, a very live opponent in this game on the weekend, and the Bombers should be focused and should be far more ready to go than they seem to be over the last couple of games against a very good Stampeders outfit.
Yes, and then obviously you had Toronto on the other side who just let one completely get away from them. First half, they came out, and I was going like, most complete game. Defense looked great. Nick Arbuckle's been playing very well, good football, because after the first two games, like I know they're 1-5, but the first two games were really rocky against Montreal and Calgary. But ever since then, he's really starting to find his rhythm. But then they just, I don't want to say took their foot off the gas, but I think we were reminded of, hey, Montreal not only making the right choice with Davis Alexander, but the fact that Montreal's a really, really good football team too. Mm-hmm. And you know what? They basically took onus on it where it's like, hey, we're not going to let this define our season. But Saturday, it's not, because the CFL is a fun league where, look, must-wins don't apply this early on. But this game, I feel like if they were to lose and go to 1-6, that's where the fans start getting the negative thoughts. That's where it's like that. It's kind of like, I'm going to use an NHL example. When a middle-of-the-pack team and say, March 4th or 5th, it's like, hey, if you win this and you got to get hot, it can change your season around. But then if you lose this, it's kind of like what, even though you guys took care of them in the playoffs last year, it's kind of what St. Louis did last year, where it's a little bit of a wonky start, but then, hey, you find your groove and your rhythm at the right time, and, you make that push to get into the playoffs. Toronto is also fortunate that and I hate to say this, but one of the worst teams I've seen in a while in the CFL in Ottawa, which game management is something we know is stressed upon in NFL terms and not CFL. But when you're a bad game manager in the CFL, like Toronto's lucky that Ottawa is who they are. But at the same time, too, and we'll talk about this because I know you talked. I didn't listen to your show yet, but I listened to the clip of it. But you have a very feisty Hamilton Tiger Cat team who is. I'm sorry, that I got to see that bowl. I was there for that Bo Levi Mitchell Kenny Lawler game. It was just like, I don't know if you remember this game or not, the Jamar Chase Thursday night game last year where he went off for 200 and something yards. It was just, he's down there, boom, ball, see ya. It's kind of like when the ball leaves Aaron Judge's bat right away, where you're just like, yep, that's gone, bye. It's just like, hey, he's scoring.
The Ticats are no joke. And I mean, listen, they weren't at the end of last season earlier, but to use your point about where the Argos are right now.
Yeah.
People can say, oh, the CFL season doesn't really start until Labor Day. And you can use that example in some cases. Ask the Ticats. You start 0-7, you're done. And even though they were actually a really dangerous team in the second half of the season, they dug themselves such a big hole early on that they just couldn't get out of it.
Yep.
Listen, I will say this, for a game between two teams in opposite divisions in July, this is as big a game as I think we've seen in a long time because of the factor of the crossover right now, which is very much in play at this point. If you're the Argos, knowing that, you have to at least be on even terms with that fourth place team in the West to not have them jump by. I mean, right now it's BC and Winnipeg in that spot. Calgary and Saskatchewan are feeling good right now at 5-1. I mean, they're not a concern of a team like the Argos or the Red Blacks for that matter. If Winnipeg gets a win, they're at 4-2, getting Toronto in Winnipeg the next week.
Yep.
And the Argos fall to 1-6. I mean, you get that big gap. An Argo win gets them to 2 wins. They'll be feeling good coming in. Maybe you get greedy and win both. But I'm telling you right now, if the Argos were to lose both of these games and be at 1-7 heading into August with Winnipeg, well, if in that scenario, Winnipeg would be 5-2, you'd have a minimum of 3 5-win teams.
Yep.
And of course, the BC Lions as well. And we'll see what happens with them on the weekend. So you can't afford to get too far behind right now. Listen, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Chad Kelly and when they're willing to bring him back in. Although I'm with you, it hasn't been the quarterbacking, I think, that's been killing Toronto. In fact, they've been finding ways to lose. I still can't believe they lost that game last Thursday. They were up 18 points basically at the end of the third quarter. And, part of it is big, great credit to Montreal for doing what they did. But, you got to be able to finish that one off. I mean, the way they lost to Saskatchewan earlier this week.
Yeah.
I mean, both of those games could have easily gone the other way. And we're having a very different conversation if the Argos are 3-3 waiting for Chad Kelly than if they are at 1-5. So I think this is a huge game. The Bombers want to get right. They want to stay in the mix in the West. But, man, for Toronto, they got to find out a way to get on the right end of the scoreboard right now before they're in a really precarious situation for just holding on to third place and making the playoffs.
Even if they win one of those games of Montreal or Saskatchewan, and you're at 2-4 right now, because like you said, the Bombers last year, 2-6, still not just won the West, went to the Grey Cup. And now, obviously, what happened in the Grey Cups, what happened in the Grey Cup, but 2-4 right now, because if you're 2-4, you win Saturday, you're 3-4. You have the confidence now to say, hey, we're 4-4 to where if it is Nick playing Saturday night and next Friday night, Chad Kelly comes back then for Ottawa and Edmonton, which then are two very winnable games. So even if they split this and that they're at 2-6 going against Ottawa and Edmonton, you're 4-6 or 5-6 heading into Labor Day. Sky's the limit because they played Ottawa once already. They still have to play Edmonton twice. But then they finish off with the Rough Ride. They literally play Ticats, Rough Riders, Stamps to finish the year. And then they have the last bye week of the year, which is something I want to ask you about. So I think for Toronto, you got to fill up on teams that are at your level, because if you lose those games, those are the ones that are going to hurt the most.
This game makes me nervous from a Bomber standpoint. I mean, they always have a tough time. I mentioned it earlier on, and I see now that Zach's starting. I see the line has moved from. I thought 3 was too much.
I'm 4.5 right now.
I'm seeing 5. Like when Hamilton and I were putting together our parlay over at CoolBet for the week in the Canadian Football League, we both liked Calgary at, I think it was 6, so we took it to 5.5. We took the Ticats plus 3.5 in BC, and he was on Winnipeg. I took Toronto plus 3, and I can wrap my head around thinking the Bombers can win this game, but I wasn't laying the points, and I'm sure as hell not laying the points. And for anyone that's a bettor out there, last week a perfect example of what's been happening. Check out the lines on Monday or Tuesday and watch where they move. Fading the line movement has been providing winners. We saw it with the Montreal-Toronto game last week. Line went crazy for Montreal. Toronto covered. The line went in Bombers' favor. They covered. The line in the BC Sask game moved from 2.5 Sask to 2.5 BC. 5 points. What happened? Sask won. So if we're seeing big line movement one way, I'm going the other way right now. And listen, for Argo fans that have seen their team go from a 3-point dog to a 5-point dog, probably a good time to get in on the double blue.
Absolutely. There's been too many times with Toronto, like even last week too. I post my videos weekly about betting. I went 3-1 last week. My picks were, I had Toronto on the spread. I had Winnipeg on the spread because, like I said, I just did that. Mm-hmm. I got Sask at plus 1.5.
Yeah.
And then I took Edmonton and I took Hamilton to finish it off. So that's the thing there with that, where I was like plus 10. It's it's just too many points for that game. I'm like, I know Toronto's looked weak, but these are games that you kind of you look at the line movement, go the opposite of what the sports book is doing, because the sports book's going to try to bait you to think, hey, this is going to happen. The only time to look that in the past that I've been baited against that is your NFL team, because they don't like to cover spreads for whatever, God knows whatever reason. Which, before we talk about the games this week, obviously, look, last time we spoke before the Super Bowl, the Chiefs were looking to three-peat. Did not end up happening.
Did not happen.
Is the vibe for you the same going into this year? Because I feel like from an outsider of the Chiefs fan perspective, I'm not saying they haven't been talked about enough, but I feel like, the juice that was there the last couple of years isn't. But I feel like it's still just, hey, at the end of the day, the AFC is theirs to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with a bit more of a quiet off season. but I do think they've made some, moves, locked down important players.
And I like the Karlaftis contract, by the way. I was a really big fan of that one.
Listen, George is awesome. I mean, Trey Smith, the all-pro guard, you need to get him in there. So I do think, I mean, every year you'll see these guys on, First Things First or First Take or some of these things going, this is the year. I don't know who's going to win the AFC West. It might be the Broncos. It might be the Chargers, but it's not going to be the Chiefs. I mean, feel free to fade the Chiefs at your own peril. As long as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes is there, this team's going to be there at the end. And if anything, I think the loss in the Super Bowl and the way that they lost is going to be a real driving force for this team. We'll see what happens with Rashee Rice. I mean, again, keep in mind, they basically missed him for the entire season last year.
Yep.
Now he's back. He's probably going to get suspended. I'm thinking like 4 to 6 games for being a complete moron with that driving incident that he had in Dallas. And he's lucky that he's not going to be spending more time in jail. And that's unfortunate. And then, of course, Hollywood Brown was out the entire time. So, I mean, did it without anywhere close to a full contingency or contingent of their offensive team. So, listen, I mean, I am very biased, fully admit to it, but this is a team that, well, yes, I might not be betting them to cover spreads every week. Look at their win total, and I think you can probably safely go to the over on that one. And I do think at some point, I mean, the AFC is the Chiefs to lose, and you're going to have to go through Arrowhead Stadium at some point to win it. I've got tickets. I'm going to the Chiefs home opener in week 2 against the Eagles. So really fired up for that. I mean, I know it's just a week 2 game, but that one will have some extra juice at Arrowhead considering what happened in the Super Bowl last year.
It's a 4:25 start. It's a Super Bowl rematch right out of the gates, which I love that it's that early because it really can kind of help shape seasons. But with the AFC West, I make the point of this. It's like I say with the AFC East. Buffalo's probably going to the AFC East. You just leave that be. You don't make any of those crazy assessments. My question is, how does 2, 3, 4 settle out? Because I like the Chargers. I do think the Broncos, for as good as they looked, they did feast on a lot of bad teams last year. But I am on the mindset of not to sleep on the Raiders. I'm not here to say that they're going to be this like great powerhouse, but I definitely don't think that they're going to be a pushover. They're a team that's given the Chiefs trouble for years, even when they were terrible. So I think this year the AFC West has the potential. I'm not going to make an outlandish take, but it could be as close to, because remember 2022 where it was like, oh, there could be 4 teams from the AFC West making the playoffs. Yeah. I don't think we see that, but I think we see something close to that where all 4 teams are not an easy out for a single team.
The funny thing was that year, I mean, we all went in going, holy smokes, this division is the best in football, and it could happen. And then it didn't really materialize. The Chiefs ran away with it again.
The Broncos
and
were terrible.
They were sort of some disappointing results. Like, I think Denver's defense is elite. I think Denver, if you're just comparing their defensive unit to the rest of the league, they're right there with the best teams in the league. Listen, I got a lot of respect for Sean Payton.
I just need to see it from both. That's my thing. We need to see it from Knicks. That's my big thing.
I was just about to say, they had the training wheels on him a little bit last year. Tons of stuff behind the line of scrimmage. If they're going to take that next step, the quarterback is going to definitely have to take that next step. Now, listen, he had a great rookie season. I mean, I was far beyond what I expected. But I do think that there's a lot more, and we'll see whether he's ready for the task. But Denver's a quality team, and listen, I've got a lot of respect and belief in Harbaugh. Although the Chargers are charging in this offseason. Like, you sign Najee Harris, and he blows up fireworks into his eye on July 4th, and that's followed by Mike Williams signing to come back and then retiring on the first day of camp. Sometimes the Chargers, they just seem like they can never have nice things. As far as the Raiders go, listen, I've spent my entire life crapping on the Raiders and making fun of their everything about them. They will be a more competitive team this year, without a doubt. Geno Smith is legitimate, professional starting quarterback. Now, where he ranks in the AFC West, definitely behind Mahomes, definitely behind Herbert. We'll see how Bo Nix fares. You got Gianti to kind of spur on the backfield. I do wonder about their defense this year, but The bottom line is they'll have a lot of energy with Pete Carroll there. I think they will move forward. So I don't think the basement, the floor will be as low for those teams. But I think really it's going to come down to the head-to-head matchups between those teams. Now, the Chiefs have only AFC West so much. I mean, they're usually 5-1 at worst in the division, if not running the table. Listen, if one of those teams can, get a win against Kansas City that don't expect, that could be the difference, because I think those head-to-head matchups, Chargers, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, Raiders, Broncos, will basically be the determining factor in where they sit within the division. But you can make an argument that any one of those three teams could very much be in the mix for a playoff spot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing with the Raiders is I, like, as a Patriots fan, I'm really glad we get them week 1, because I think early on they're going to do that. But by November, December, they're going to be, I could see them having like that Hamilton type season where it's like November, December, they kind of come on, but it's already like, it's too little too late, or it's like, hey, you have a chance to get here, but you got to like play playoff football. Plus you need like 5 other teams to lose every single week, and 4 of those teams lose. The Broncos, look, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier when I was saying that. That's on me. But with Bo Nix, I just look at it as, you need to win some games you're not supposed to. You got to go out there and be the man. That's what I think with Bo Nix. I think their defense will be fine. I think if they get into some low-scoring games, they'll win. It's if they get into shootouts with teams is where I have worry with them. If you remember the Bengals-Broncos game, like right after Christmas last year, it's games like that where I'm like, hey, Bo, you need to go out there and win those games, or your defense has to put you in a position to win. And then the Chargers, like you said, Mike Williams, I love seeing those retirements, because it's the guys who they get to camp and then they're just like, yeah, this ain't for me anymore. I'm good. I'm packing my bag and going home. Like, hey, I had a good career. I'm too old for this shit. I'm getting out of here.
It takes a lot to walk away from like $6 million, but those camps are not fun, and I think they get less and less fun as you get older. I thought it was going to be sort of cool for Williams to come back and finish his career with the Chargers, where he had his best years, and I think they could use him, and I think Justin Herbert was looking forward to slinging it to him again. But they'll have to make way. Ladd McConkey, great fantasy pick this year. The guy's going to catch 1 million balls from Justin Herbert.
Absolutely.
Still reliable, but we'll see how that all shakes out. Just quickly on Denver. They better get wins in the first couple of weeks. They got the Titans at home and they're at the Colts. And then they go to the Chargers. They play Cincinnati. They're at Philadelphia before getting the 2 New York teams and a little bit of a respite in the middle of the season. But they've got some tough games. They've got Green Bay. They got a couple against the Chiefs, those divisional games. So you're right. I mean, the degree of difficulty, I think, is going to increase a little bit with the schedule. But at the same time, you're looking for progression from a second-year quarterback. He's got a hell of a great coach behind him to help him put himself in the best chance to give the best chance to succeed. But again, you got to see it before you can assume that it will happen. So, but hey, that's a team that I think can win some 13-10 games this year. So I certainly am not writing Denver off.
Yeah, I'm going to be betting a lot of Broncos unders this year. The other game I will say, too, is I know one of those Chiefs game is Christmas night, and I just remembered a tweet they put out saying, won't be a silent night at Arrowhead on the 25th of December. But yeah, that's just why I figure, as NFL season approaches, too, got to ask some of the questions to the NFL fans that are here, even though we're talking football. For everyone saying, too, football's not back. Football's been back for 8 weeks, guys. Just hop on the
Yeah. Listen, any of your buddies that say, I can't wait for football to start. If you're a football fan, wake the hell up. We've got a game every night on TSN, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That is the most annoying thing. And I think you probably hear more of it in Southern Ontario than maybe we do, certainly out West.
Yeah.
But I mean, the CFL is very different than the NFL, but it's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And I just hope that we can see some more of the fan base growing and having as good a time as here in Winnipeg. I mean, it really is the golden era of Blue Bomber football. 8 straight sellouts right now at Princess Auto Stadium. Expect another full house a week Friday when the Argos are back here heading into the long weekend. And it sure would be nice to see some positive momentum, which I think is happening, just maybe not as quickly as a lot of people would like in some of these other markets.
Oh, 100%. I also say this to my wife now too, but I look at her and I say, the only months I get off from football is pretty much just March and April. Besides that, there's football from May until the middle of February. I'm set for 9 months.
I'd take it 12 months a year if it was there. I love the XFL because it started right after the Super Bowl was finished.
Yeah.
You got that in there. Doesn't sound like anything. I know you can keep on repackaging that spring league or whatever, however you want it. I thought they totally blew it by not keeping XFL actually as the title. They went to UFL. The minute there's a U there, you lost a lot of people. And but I see the CFL is the next best thing in North America in professional football. I know a lot of people love college football, but listen, it's been a great season so far. We've got some awesome teams. We've got a big slate of games this weekend, which should be a lot of fun.
And also the other thing, too, is it's a league that there's always parity. Like the NFL, you already know who the dogs are going to be in the league and who the bottom teams are. With the CFL, year to year, changes, and that's why you got to love it. But you said it. We got some great games this weekend. Picks are always brought to you by the great folks at Gents Boutique. First up, we have the Calgary Stampeders hosting the Montreal Alouettes. My only question to you, Huss, do you take the 7 points with the Stamps? Because I'm ready to put my money on there, but I saw that -7, and I know there's no Davis Alexander. But is 7 points too much here?
7 is sort of tough to get around. I mean, once you get to a full touchdown, I mean, like whether you want to go to an alt line or something like that. Like I'm seeing 6.5 right now. That kind of feels like my limit. When we did CFL 110, it was at 6, and we had to get it on a 0.5 one way or the other when we put our parlay together. So we went with 5.5. I can handle 5.5. I think I can hold my nose. We can go 6.5. The minute you get to 7 or a little bit more, it's tough. But that being said, we have absolutely no reason not to believe in the Calgary Stampeders. They just steamrolled a hell of a Winnipeg football team and Saskatchewan in back-to-back weeks. And the Montreal Alouettes come in with more McLeod Bethel Thompson, who just has been adequate, I guess. Okay. And he's going to be doing it on the road against the best defense in the league. Hopefully Calgary's got a good crowd. They certainly deserve it for the way they played so far this year. So tough for me to ride with MBT and the Ls on the road in Calgary, the way the Stamps are playing. I mean, if it's 6.5, I'll take it. 7, it might be a stay away, but for the sake of our conversation here, give me the Stamps. I'll lay the points.
I said it, I was going to do it last week and bet the Stamps, and I backed off, which that always backfires. Never overthink a bet. You overthink a bet, you're going to lose. I'm going Stamps. I'm doing it. You know, they've shown me enough. They look really good. They've looked good. I know it's always that time where I remember Calgary and Saskatchewan a couple weeks ago, everyone's saying this could be the game Saskatchewan loses, and they did. Like you said, too, even with that game, they had to sleep in dorm rooms at the university.
Crazy.
And they still went out there and whooped them. The big thing with this game, too, is last week Montreal played Toronto. Where did Toronto's head coach, Ryan Dinwiddie, be before he was in Toronto? He was in Calgary. So he knows Dave Dickinson. So Dave Dickinson's probably going to go and look at the film, see what Dinwiddie did so well, and just take right from it. Because we know when you have that tree, you take things from what you've learned. So I think it's going to be the opposite.
If I'm Calgary, I'm not changing a thing on defense right now.
No, I'm talking offensively. I'm talking offensively because Toronto, look, the offense kind of stalled a bit in the second half. They were taking some deep shots, but that's last week. This is this week. That's what I was just trying to get the point of, though, where Dickinson's going to look at what Dinwiddie did and put his own little twist on it. Same recipe, different chefs. Think of the same dish, but slightly different ingredients. Instead of using basil, you may use oregano. Or, instead of cilantro, you use parsley. So that's that. But we have Friday Night Football, too, from Saskatchewan, from Regina. Same question, too. It's -10. I like the Riders. I just don't know if, even in the CFL, if I can bet a 10-point favorite. So I'm going to say this. Elks cover, Riders win.
It's funny. I'm with you. I mean, this line earlier today when I was doing Lock Shop, I was seeing 9.5. Now I'm seeing 10.5. And if you're going to give me 10 and the hook, I'll take Edmonton. Listen, there's two ways. Like, if you remember Edmonton being terrible last year, they did go into Saskatchewan, catch them off guard. Trey Ford had a massive game, and they won. I think it was 42-31 on the road. And they didn't have very many wins so far this year.
Yeah.
The other possibility, I think it's the most likely possibility, is that Cody Fajardo is the starting quarterback. I think that'll give that team a bit of a boost. He loves to stick it to the Riders if he's able to do it. And It's just such a big, big number. Although Edmonton's given us absolutely no reason to believe in them. I'm with you, though. To me, the number's just too big. Gun to my head, I will take Edmonton plus 10 or plus 10.5 and hope that we've got a game that's at least interesting in the fourth quarter, or maybe a little backdoor magic to cover the spread.
Exactly. Those are the best bets, and the back doors just left a little open. You just take that door, rip it off the hinges. Like I said, I do like Saskatchewan. It's just the points are too many. And plus two, we see this game in the NFL all the time. Team off to a rough start, back against the wall. No one believes in them. Buy low, sell high. That's how I view this game. And then Toronto versus Winnipeg. I'm going to say the same thing we said earlier. The Toronto team we saw last week, I think, is what they're capable of. I don't know if they're going to win, but like you said, the more the points bet spread goes up, the more you want to believe in the underdog. And that's what I'm doing here. I don't know if they're going to win. I think this is going to be a close game. I also think for the sake of betting as well, because you and I are gentlemen who like our betting, which unfortunately I wasn't able to use Cool Bets odds because it's not available in Ontario.
Yeah, of course.
But I use TunyBet, the official betting partner of the CFL. I do think the under hits here as well at 52.5. I can see this being a, 24-20, 24-21 kind of football game. Or for the sake of the Rouge, I'm going to throw out there 25-21.
That always seems to be the area that these two teams are in.
Yeah.
Listen, to me, this line is way too high right now in favor of the Bombers. As a Bomber guy, if you told me they could scratch out and win this game, I would take it. I would be really happy. Like, kind of similar to the heebie-jeebies I had about Calgary coming in last week, but didn't really want to voice them too much because it was in the face of such strong trends in history of Winnipeg and piss off everybody in my chat on Winnipeg Sports Talk. The Argos, and maybe this is just PTSD from the Grey Cups and some of these other games, the Argos always are ready to play the Bombers. They give them fits. Ryan Dinwiddie has done a great job of scheming against Winnipeg in the past. I think this is going to be a real challenge for Winnipeg. And let's not forget, Dalton Schoen's out. Stanley Bryan hasn't practiced this week. Zach Collaros is coming back from being knocked out last week, although he will play. Like, if you told me the Bombers played great and won by 7 or 10, I mean, I guess I could believe it, but I'm not expecting that at all. I expect this to be an absolute dogfight, and I think it's going to take a full 60 minutes to win this game. I wouldn't at all be surprised if the winning total was less than a field goal, as in like a 1-point game, a 2-point game. So definitely, I mean, if you can get a 5 right now, even 4.5 on Toronto, I would take them as a home dog. I mean, listen, I'm seeing plus 185 on the money line. Now, it's just against my nature to take a money line against the Bombers. It would ruin my night cheering for and against myself at night. But like, the Argos are going to win some games. I mean, I'm kind of surprised they haven't happened yet. I'm hoping that it don't do it at the expense of Winnipeg. But listen, I think there's only one side to be on right now with the line where it is, and that's on the home dog of Toronto.
That's exactly it. And you also have an Argonaut fan base who's like, there's a lot of sour taste left in the mouths of Argonauts fans. The players, it wasn't so much of a sour taste, but it's just knowing like, hey, we don't know what happened. We're better than that. I think they're better than that. But at the same time, too, this is the get rightiest games I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's too hard to predict a winner, but for right now, I'm gonna trust Winnipeg. But it wouldn't shock me to see this is a coin flip. This is about the biggest coin flip game I think we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, the other one that had a lot of people on both sides was the one that flipped from 2.5 to 2.5 the other side, that BC Sask game last week. But I think we got some pretty clear answers as to where those teams are in the hierarchy right now. But, the East versus West games are always unique. And as I say, the Argos, certainly, you want to talk about trends and success. The Argos are the team that's had the success against Winnipeg. So I think you got to take that into consideration when capping the Saturday night game.
Exactly. And then Sunday night, we have the same thing as last week, which I looked at the BC Sask game and said, why is Sask an underdog? And I'm doing the same thing here. Why are the Red Hot Ticats +3? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Hamilton, not only offensively, but Hamilton defensively has looked really good too. And BC defensively hasn't been all that fortuitous or great. I don't even know. I'm just throwing a random word out there. They haven't been all that. Like the BC defense is a reason why they've lost a lot of the games, including the 2 against your Winnipeg Blue Bombers earlier this year. So for all those reasons being said, and for as much as this pains me to say, they're going to Oski wee their way to another victory.
BC got lit up by Chris Streveler. They got lit up by Zach Caleros. They certainly got lit up last week by Trevor Harris. They've now got 2
got lit up by Jake Mayer.
Jake Mayer, of course, in that other game. And then the one game that the defense looked great was against Edmonton, who put forth one of the most pathetic efforts in a CFL game I can remember.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave up 30 carries to one guy. I'm still waiting to find out when the last time, other than James Butler, a running back in the CFL had 30 carries in a game, 174 yards. That was embarrassing for Edmonton. To me, I think BC is sort of in the mix. Now, I think their offense can, when Nathan Rourke is on, they're dangerous. They certainly have the weapons. But, man, so is BC. Like, the total's 55.5 in that game.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't at all surprise me if it's over. I could see both teams maybe getting to 30 points. Hell of a finale to have for the week. But I'm with you. And I mean, again, this opened at 3.5. So I jumped on the 3.5 right away. Like, I think this will be a fun, close game. But if you were going to tell me one team won by double digits, I would bet it was the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Stiegel made a great point today. We were talking about just how on one Kenny Lawler is right now.
Yeah.
Well, so is Bo Levi Mitchell. And Lawler is a guy that he does not need to be open to get him the football. And I mean, who's more of a gunslinger than Bo Levi Mitchell? And right now, with the guy like that out there for him, I mean, he is going to be seeing the ball all day long. That's going to be a lot for BC to hold down. So I think this is going to be a hell of a fun game to finish off the week. Lots of points, lots of touchdowns, and Hamilton covering the 3 or 3.5 point spread.
For fun, I got it. 55.5 is a scary total, also because I took the Hamilton Ottawa over a couple weeks ago, and it bit me when it was like a 23-20 game. But I honestly could see it being this game could be weird. It could be either super close, or I think one team's just like you catch Hamilton on an off night, or you catch BC just continually doing what they've been doing this year, which is just playing bad football at the worst times. But until I see it otherwise, Hamilton is the team that I am trusting, for as weird as that is to say, considering where they were at this time last year. So that's a beautiful thing about this league, Huss. It is the fact that last year, this team that was really bad is now, hey, they're threatening for first place in the East right now. Well, that's a beautiful thing about a 9-team league.
Dude, think about the preseason Grey Cup odds.
Yeah.
Who was 9th out of 9 teams?
Hamilton.
The Calgary Stampeders.
Calgary, excuse me.
And Calgary right now is the second shortest number. They've gone from 23-1 to plus 325. And I will give myself a little Barry Horowitz here with a self-pat on the back. We were doing our previews show and our futures show. And I said, you know what? The bet that I love for MOP is Vernon Adams, 25-1. And the thought process being, I think Calgary's going to be better. I mean, they should be better with him in there. And they don't need to be the best team in the league to realize how important Vernon Adams is because of where they're starting from. Like, you look at teams like Winnipeg or even Nathan Rourke. I mean, there's an expectation of being at the top to be the MOP. Vernon Adams has the opportunity to completely turn around the fortunes of the Stampeders, which, when you're talking about most valuable player, plays in a huge, huge way. So the VA train is rolling right now. No one saw that their defense was what it was right now, but needless to say, there's been a massive shakeup in the CFL futures right now, and Calgary is right there at the top behind the Alouettes as the Grey Cup favorites right now. But people are still, despite the fact that the Argos have the record that they are, I think there's a lot of people waiting for more from the Argos. I can tell you, fans in Winnipeg, hoping that it doesn't start on Saturday at BMO Field.
We'll have to wait and see if it does start Saturday. I feel like there is a little jolt in there, because usually when the Argos have had a bad game like they did against Saskatchewan earlier this year, they responded with a great game against Ottawa. They had a win slip through their fingers last Thursday night. They're going to have a full 9 days between games to get ready for it. So I feel like if they win this, it's that perfect opportunity to just, put the foot on the gas and accelerate on the highway, which could potentially lead them back to Winnipeg later this year.
Yeah, well, it'll definitely lead them to Winnipeg next week. I mean, the Bombers have had the most bizarre schedule I've ever seen. Started on the bye, then back-to-back against BC, then one game against Edmonton, then back-to-back against Calgary with a bye mixed in, and now they're going back-to-back against Toronto.
Yeah.
6 of their first 7 games were part of back-to-backs. Like, we always know they're going to have that against the Riders at Labor Day and the Banjo Bowl, but to have this many, it's, anyways, very weird schedule, but you can only play who they tell you to play, and this weekend they're going up against the Toronto Argonauts, so bring it on.
They also have a Hamilton Tiger Cat sandwich with the Red Black sandwich right in between as well later this year after the Banjo Bowl as well. I just looked that up as well. But no, I was going to refer to the 2 bye weeks because if Winnipeg can't stay healthy, their next bye is not for 2 months. So they have to, if they can stay healthy and stay on their P's and Q's, I think they'll be fine. And I'm not here saying, the Argos are going to the Grey Cup. I'm just saying that winning games like Saturday can only help you potentially get there or change the course of your season to where it's, okay, now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, they got to find a way to win and just get this thing going in the right direction, because at 1-5, if you don't do that, as we said right off the hop, it could be a pretty precarious position to even be a playoff team with how many wins teams so far not named Edmonton have in the Western Division.
That's exactly it, because you have the West is still the wild, wild West. You have 4 teams who are making very solid cases to get into the playoffs and maybe the crossover for the first time in a very long time. And then in the East, you have 2 teams at the top. You have Toronto. And then, Ottawa's just got to show me something before I buy any stock into them. They're on my banned list right now for betting. But
yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah, they're on my banned list right now for betting. So Toronto's in that position to where it's not you have to worry about Hamilton, don't worry about Ottawa. Win your games, keep the conversation from the West there, because, like I said, like we were saying earlier, they still have to play the back-to-back weeks against Ottawa and Edmonton. And playing games like that, winning games like this will only help catapult you to win games like that against teams that you're supposed to win against. So it's the perfect recipe for football. Win a couple you're not supposed to, or one you're not supposed to. Win the ones you should. Who knows what could happen from there?
Well, the Bombers are going to feel like they should win and will hope to win. But as I said, games are always tight. It should be a real fun one, and I expect it to be very much up for grabs after the 3-minute warning in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely. I think this game honestly comes down to either who has the ball last or which quarterback turns the ball over the least, which I know is obviously very, yes, thank you, Captain Obvious, but a lot of the times in football, that's what it just comes down to, which quarterback has better ball security.
Well, a ball last, or, I mean, frankly, let's not overlook the kickers. I mean, really tight games, special teams often can be the differentiator. And we had Sergio Castillo on yesterday. I mean, the one thing that the Bombers have, which a lot of the other teams don't have, is a guy that has an absolute nuke for a leg. He had the 2 60-yarders last year. He had a 58-yarder on Friday. So it's a guy you like to go to. But listen, the Bombers are going to need to be better in all aspects, and the Argos are going to need to continue to raise the level of play. So I think we'll see 2 pretty desperate teams playing with a real sense of urgency on Saturday night.
That's exactly it. I just think, look, you have Liram Hailalahu, you have Sergio Castillo, Zach Caleros, Nick Arbuckle, who we might – this is Wednesday night. Chad Kelly, we're probably going to find out more tomorrow. But as of the way this week's gone, I want to say no, but wouldn't be shocked if it's a yes either. We're just going to have to wait and see what the scans say and what Dinwiddie says. And then you know what? All you can really ask for is fireworks Saturday night at BMO Field, and I think there's a very good chance we get that.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to the entire week in the CFL. Last week was really good. There's some really juicy matchups this week.
You got NFL training camp. You got week 8 of the CFL. College football's not there yet, but they're going to be back in about a month. They're just doing their media days right now to get everyone excited. I feel like Jeff Hamilton calling you Huss here just because, it's the name I've come to know you as, but For Andrew Paterson, I'm Griff. This has been episode number 371 of YWC Football Talk. Enjoy the CFL this week, guys. And just remember, football's a year-round sport. Be open to it.